Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to Passions Podcast. I almost forgot what the fuck I was doing there. Passions Podcast. That's what we're doing tonight. Passions After Dark. It's nighttime, y'all.
Woo!
I am Latara, as always, and I have a special guest host this week, Eric. Woo!
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. Like, I'm so excited to talk to you. Tell the people about yourself a little bit.
Yeah, first of all, my name is Eric Vera. I am actually a PhD candidate over at the University of Texas at Austin, looking at the way Latinos are represented in popular performance. So I'm excited to talk about the Lopez Fitzgerald family at some point. And, you know, it wasn't easy trying to get on this podcast. In fact, I got to say, Latara, I did something for you.
Oh, okay. I can't wait. What is it?
In order to get on, I had to sell my soul to Hecuba herself.
You did not have your soul vow. I love it.
And I made one for you. So thank you for having me on. I have one here for you.
Eric's got my soul. How'd you get my soul? I can't feel the Christmas spirit. Oh, no. Thank you so much. Oh, that's amazing.
Yes. It's been one of those things that, I mean, obviously I've been obsessed for a really long time, but I was one of those things I was like, that vial looks so cool. And it was like purplish and like, it always stuck out with me. And I'm like, you know what? I bet I can make one. Found a little cool vial on Etsy and boom, here we are.
Honestly, it looks like, and immediately when I saw it on the show, I thought this, it looks like something that someone I know knew in my past kept their cocaine in.
Well, and when Hecuba jumps up and down on the bed, maybe she was on some. I mean,
she acts like it sometimes, for sure. All right, so let's get into it. We are talking about episodes 376 through 380 this week. This was a pretty good week, really. We got some things, some good resolutions actually for once. So, Eric, before we get into the show today, tell everybody what's your kind of Passions origin story?
Oh yeah. So first of all, I can distinctly remember being in middle school. I know I'm telling everybody how old I am, but I was in middle school, and I remember being in class, and one of the teachers had it on, and it was like that rare occasion that like actual cable was coming through like a TV at school, and I remember seeing like this. I remember the witch aspect of it, and I've always been obsessed with witches. Whether they be Hocus Pocus or Magica de Spell, like witches have impressed me. They're fun. And I remember seeing that and I'm like, what is that? And a friend of mine was like, oh, that's Passions. That's that soap opera. And because it was on during the day, I could never really see it. Well, it was one of those like one day I was homesick kind of thing. And I saw it and I was like, oh, we're recording this thing.
Yeah.
So the VCR was set at 1 o'clock my time all the time. And then my mom started to kind of watch it with me. Like she was like, oh, look, Latinos. And so it was very different at the time because it was like we weren't seeing them a lot in mainstream. But so we started to watch it, and then I fell in love with Tabitha and Timmy. And I remember being ridiculously attracted to Charity for some reason. I know that's blasphemous on this podcast, but I was. I slept on Teresa. I don't know what was wrong with me. And I remember meeting a girl who looked just like her in high school. And this is a great pickup line. Hey, you look like the girl from Passions. To which she said, yeah, I've been told that before.
So she probably really did.
Yeah, and it didn't work out. But you know, I should have looked for a K. No, I was yeah.
No.
So yeah, so then after that, I mean, it's always just been a part of my life. I remember my friends and I would be in college and somebody would get on my nerves and I would just like rub my hands together and like pretend to like blow them up the way that like Tabitha would rub her hands together, except I didn't have awesome wooden bracelets to make those amazing sounds.
The clink clank.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's where all the magic comes from. And then after that, it was just something that it was always kind of there in the background of my mind. I mean, like if I could find the musical suite to this, like haunting music of like creepy things happen in Harmony, I hear that music all the time. Or if I see like a lot of crows on the power lines, I'm like, oh, Hecuba's here. Like
Yeah.
stuff's about to go down. Even as a acting like coach, or like when I give notes, I'll every once in a while tell somebody like, don't forget, even if you're just a little subtle and you do this like eyebrow raise, like when they're zooming in on you before they're going to go ba da ba 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 to a commercial, like
Uh-huh.
that's powerful. And when I do that, I'm thinking specifically about Rebecca Hotchkiss. Like I'm thinking like
Yes.
she is the master of that like last
Yeah.
little squint of or glimmer of like mischievous deed before going to commercial.
Yeah, she really is. Actually, I noticed that I watched some of the like a couple of episodes today. And I was like, oh my goodness, the way she stands in a room alone and moves her eyebrows is enchanting. I mean, I'm
She
so engaged.
She's so good. And then I saw that she tweeted a picture of how much she misses Passions. And
Mhm.
I was like, go get her, get her, get her, get her on the show.
Oh my gosh, I do need to get her.
Yeah.
You
But
are
yes,
absolutely right.
that's been the, how I kind of got in there, and I've just been with it ever since. I mean, it was hard once it made the move to the soap opera network. That was difficult, but every once in a while I'd be able to like find a way to watch it. So I definitely got to like kind of catch up a little before the finale, and then I watched the finale. So yeah, and ever since, oh, I mean, I sent you some pages just for fun, but a
Yeah,
while back my friends were like, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a Passions musical? And I was like, I'm bored. I got some time, and wrote
we
a
can do a
couple
Passions
pages.
musical.
Yeah.
I can
So
do
I wrote a
that.
couple pages, fun stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how it's been. And I've been a fan ever since, and I still love it.
That's an amazing story. And it's similar to like honestly it's so similar to most people's story that I hear, in my own story, where it's like I found it in middle school and just fell in love with it. And I was like, this is amazing. And I'm watching it as an adult and I'm like, this is amazing, but for way different reasons than I thought when I was 10. And
Yeah.
like, but anyway, let's get into passion. So we're
Yes.
going to start with Shuis. And here is the little summary. Okay. Again, we're doing bullet points. For those of you who listened last week, you may have seen that last week I did not do summaries and things went awry. So have I have decided to do better. All right. So here we go. Here are the bullet points for the week. A frantic Hank informed Sam, TC, Luis, and Ethan that Sheridan was buried alive. After having dug up her grave, Luis held a lifeless Sheridan in his arms. Sheridan shocks everyone when she miraculously starts breathing again, and they rush her to the hospital where the doctors tell them she has sustained too much brain damage and will require life support. The decision falls to Ethan whether to respect Sheridan's wishes and pull the plug or keep her on life support. He, of course, makes the choice to respect her wishes. Sam was stunned when his brother revealed that Roger and Pierre had asked him to kill Sheridan. Sam told a devastated Hank he was no longer his brother. Sheridan makes another miraculous recovery. It's a Christmas miracle. Like that's the rundown of this week. There was so much that happened. So let's start on this boat.
Yes.
Everybody, remember, there's been this rescue mission to rescue Eve, Hank, and Agent Hal Freeman, who I know I've been saying that Sam is the worst cop in the world and like really bad at his job, but Hal Freeman gives him a run for his money. Hal Freeman is the worst. The worst. How are there no other FBI agents who know about this plan?
And he's absolutely awful, especially when we get into the digging part, because it's like, be quiet, you are not helpful, like you are.
He really just was like, we shouldn't even bother digging her up.
Yeah,
like you got to dig
like,
her up regardless.
Yes, even if she was alive for a little bit, you got to check and see if there's like nail marks or something. I mean, you got to double check. You're a cop.
Yeah. Also, we're gonna have to find out the actual cause of death and hold people accountable for her death if she's dead. Like, come on. So anyway, Eve has been rescued from the water because she got pushed overboard last week.
Oh my
And
God.
TC jumped in to save her. I think Sam went in too. They pulled her out
Oh yeah.
and they bring her back. Like she's looks dead at first, but then they bring her back. Of course, they bring Eve back, wake that lady up. And she starts saying, "We got to get to Sheridan. Sheridan's alive. We got to get to Sheridan." And Hank's on the other side of the boat saying to Luis and Ethan, "We got to get to Sheridan. Sheridan's alive." And everybody's just like, "You guys must have got a knock on your head. What do you mean? Like, what do you think? Why do you think Roger and Pierre had us kidnapped?"
Yeah, I sit there and I'm like, I know it's the soap opera trope, but it just makes me laugh that Eve's like, I'm telling you stuff and nobody's listening. I also love that when they do rescue Eve, I mean, like TC doesn't think about it. He has one declaration because it's a soap opera. He's like, I'm gonna go in there and save my woman. He jumps in there, but I love that. Of course, Sam has to take his shirt off, like, and it's like like we just
I
held a
ain't
little wrong.
complaining.
I was gonna say it's like I was like, okay, all right, here we go. Let's get some theatrics. But yeah, I mean, everybody's trying to say something, and then I love this whole Hank is like off to the side, being like, "What happens if I don't tell them in time?" It's like, yell it out. At this point, what does it matter?
You should have said it by now. Like, it's crazy that you haven't said it yet. So he finally tells them, and again, he's like, "Sheridan's alive. We got to get to Sheridan." Hal's like, "It's too late. You know she's dead by now."
It's so sad. It's so sad.
I
And
can't stand him.
oh,
And
he's
so
awful.
Hal and Hank explain to Luis and Ethan and TC and Sam how they faked Sheridan's death. Sam, Sam, it was so funny because Sam's like, "It's not your fault, buddy." like this whole part, like literally everything is Hank's fault.
Yeah.
And Sam's so sweet in this moment that he's like, "It's not your fault, buddy. Like you had no choice." Like, because he obviously he didn't know that Hank literally did all of this to save his own ass, and it had
Yeah.
nothing to do with Sheridan. When he found that out, he was pissed. But Luis and Ethan are pissed, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Like Sam's like so blasé about it, which was
Yeah.
again, he's so bad at his job, so I shouldn't be shocked. But like a crime has been committed, sir. Do your job. But Luis and Ethan are pissed. Like we got to get there right away. So they Ethan says something that really was weird to me. He was like, "You had no right to do this without my permission." Huh?
I mean, I've always thought Ethan and Sheridan's relationship was really nice, like an aunt and nephew, especially since they're so different than the rest of the Crane family. However, I was like, this is a little incestuous. Like there's a little bit of a weird vibe between these two sometimes. And it was right here where I'm like, you're way too protective. I mean, I'll do anything for my aunts, but this is a little much.
But even if he was her husband, she doesn't need your permission to fake her own
Yeah.
death. Nobody needs your permission. Just because
God.
why would they need your permission? But especially since she's your aunt. She's not your kid.
Exactly. Well, and then, Hank doing all of this stuff, it just makes me laugh because, well, first of all, I could be, this might be a different opinion, but I like this Hank because I do remember the more like the chiseled, like handsome Squidward version that comes up later. The
blonde one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
And I think he was just a little too, I mean, they're very, very different. That one will eventually get here as well, but they're just very, very different. And this one I felt was a little bit, I don't like the whininess. I hate this whininess. But I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't hate him as much as I remember. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I don't know. Age does stuff to you, I guess.
That's so interesting because I despise Hank.
I know you do.
In all forms. I despise Hank in all forms. First form, final form. I hate final form Hank. I hate early Hank. Just
final form. I like that. Super Saiyan.
He's horrible. So they all they rush back to shore. They rush to the cemetery. Ethan is like giving Luis all these weird like glances throughout this, which I actually kind of love. Like, I get that he is trying to show that he is having a change of heart about Luis. Like he's learning something new about Luis, and Luis did like save his life or whatever. And but he keeps kind of looking at Luis like, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe I was wrong about you. And it
Yeah.
honestly it's kind of sweet, but it just made me laugh because there was no dialogue. There was no inner monologue, which they do a lot. It was just interesting to me. I think that was just a choice that Travis made to do.
And I think it is nice, right? Like, because in the back of his mind somewhere, he was on his way to talk to Luis about his love for Teresa, and like, hey, I want to make this work. I know you love my aunt. Like, it came from a good place, but I just love how on a dime it switches to I hate you and I'll avenge my aunt. It's like, nah, like Teresa just told you how much. I mean, if anyone knows anything about love, Teresa told you that Luis loves Sheridan. So, this whole story arc about like, well, you let her die. I'm like, okay, we're just trying to find fights to fight.
Yeah, no, that is ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
Luis feeling the guilt of Sheridan's death, okay, understandable. It's not your fault, but a lot of times people feel that kind of guilt when someone
Yeah.
close to them dies.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But Ethan being so adamant about like, I'm gonna ruin your fucking life because the FBI made you leave. It clearly was not your fault is ridiculous. But while all of this is happening, Sheridan is watching from above. How lovely. With her mother, who is alive. And I will not stop saying that. I will die on this hill. Catherine Crane is alive.
Yes.
And she's coming.
Yes. Spoiler alert. All I kept thinking was like, okay, let me try and justify this, especially in my Catholicism, right? I'm sitting there going, okay, maybe God was like, okay, angel number 45, I need you to go over there and pretend to be Catherine. Because that is the only thing that Sheridan will understand. Either that or Sheridan's like losing oxygen and is hallucinating, but she also happens to be hallucinating the things that are actually happening in real time.
Exactly. That is
So
my
I gotta
exact
pick one
issue
or the
with
other.
this. That's my exact issue with this is that they clearly made it so that this is actually happening. She's having this conversation with her mother. She can see everything that's happening. Either that or Sheridan is like clairvoyant. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that works with the, with all the shit that goes on in Harmony. But I like your idea better. I like that.
I'm like, I think Jesus was like, Angel 45, I'm gonna have you look like Catherine for like a couple minutes, because that's the only way she can be able to digest this information. Meanwhile, Catherine and well, spoiler alert.
Don't spoil that.
No spoils. No spoils.
We're not gonna spoil everything, but just know Catherine is alive.
We'll look at some tea leaves in a little bit.
Right. Exactly. We'll look at some tea leaves in a little bit. So yeah, Sheridan's watching all this. Her mom is like, it's too late, Sheridan. It's time to go. We have to go into the light. And we do this like a bunch of times. Sheridan starts to walk into the light and then she turns back and says, I can't leave Luis. I can't leave him. And she stays. And we do that a bunch of times. And that's how she eventually breathes a little bit.
Yeah.
So at the cemetery, they're digging her up and they hit all that fucking cement that Julian had poured into her grave, even though the grave guy, like the groundskeeper, said to him, like, hey, I think somebody's alive in here.
Julian is so funny because in those episodes before, Julian was just like, oh, please, I know what my sister would. I mean, like, it's like he found any excuse to be like, nah, I don't believe you. And yeah, the concrete is like quick drying cement, which is always, that's all they sell at Home Depot and Lowe's, apparently, is just quick drying cement in soap operas.
He brought a truck. So it's like industrial shit. Like it came from Crane Industries.
Yeah.
But
they don't
apparently Sheridan's been in the ground forever. Like I was told that she had air for 2 hours. That's what I was told.
Yeah.
But now I guess it's just the miracle of love that's keeping her hanging on, because apparently she's been in the ground for many hours. So she should definitely be dead.
I just want to think about this logistically. Okay, Hank, this is a plan. I won't say decent, but this is a plan. And you sit there and go, could you at least have put some some water in like a cushion underneath, or some like even a cell phone, an emergency cell phone. Maybe it wouldn't go out there. I don't know. Maybe the bars wouldn't reach. But even a little like a little TV. I mean, like something for her to just feel a little. But he's like, that wasn't part of the plan. Yeah, because your plan was really shitty.
Your
That's
plan
why.
was fucking terrible. And I thought about that too. I was like, maybe they could have given her a cell phone or something. But then I was like, if she's 6 feet under, it might not work. But then, like, there are radios. Like, it's the FBI. Y'all don't have shit that you can, you know what I mean?
Can you not give her a life alert? Yeah,
you know. Yes, give her a life alert.
Help, I've fallen and I can't get out of this coffin.
Give this lady a life alert.
Yeah, someone's underway, Mrs. Fletcher.
Something. Also, more than 2 hours worth of air.
Yeah.
Surely you could have fit this coffin with more than half an oxygen tank.
Yeah.
Like a half-filled oxygen tank. I feel like they just picked one up from the hospital that had been used already. I'm like, this will be fine.
And then this is where I wrote down, this idiot ass detective, don't give them false hope. You still got to go over there and check.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're digging up this grave. Hal has been so negative the entire fucking time, considering he is the person who killed Sheridan. He's been so negative the entire time. And then when they're digging up the dirt, they hit the cement and he like is like, oh, well,
yeah,
no way we're getting to her now. Like,
yeah, y'all want to go order a pizza? Like, we're done.
Yeah, I give up. And Luis is like, the fuck you do? We're going to keep digging, you know? And so they break through the cement. And honestly, it's Luis by himself for a little while. Yeah. Like, literally, even Ethan stopped.
Yeah, they're all just standing there watching him and they're like, poor guy.
I think Sam and TC did run to see if they could get like some different tools. Yes, so that's at least something that they did that was right.
Yeah.
Other than a shovel. Like, y'all need a pickaxe, you need a jackhammer, something. Yeah. So they finally get the slabs off of the thing. They pull her out of the coffin. Baby girl is dead. Okay. Luis pulls her out. Now this like brought a tear to my eye. I'm not even gonna lie. My cold, icy heart melted a little when he's holding her and he's saying, you know, we got here. We're here now. I'm here now for you. Like, wake up. I'm here. You don't worry. You're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. And then Eve examines her and is like, she doesn't have a pulse. She's gone. Yeah. She's dead. And she was dead.
Yeah.
And then of course she takes she gasps. She goes, yeah. And he's like, did you see that? She breathed. So they rush her to the hospital. Good, because a lot of times they don't go to the hospital when they should go to the hospital.
Yeah.
They rush to the hospital. And when we get to the damn hospital, this irritated me. It's like, why not just let the lady wake up? Right? Why not just do that? Why create this whole other drama on top of this? Because this was already so incredibly dramatic.
The will she, won't she thing. Yeah. I just, because I always go there. I was sitting there when Eve was examining her. I was really hoping that the queen of sedatives would be like, you know what she really needs right now? A sedative.
She needs a sedative. It's the minute she took that breath. Oh, let us sedate her.
Yeah.
I gotta sedate her.
Her brain is working overtime. Sedation is the only answer. But I do love Eve, and one of the memories that I have of watching the show is that haunting song that she sings, like "My Baby's Gone," and it's like their love song between her and Julian. You know, like it is one of those songs. I love that song. I'm like, I need to find that song.
Oh, you know, I can send it to you. I found a bunch of these passion songs.
oh, please! I don't know the lyrics. It was just one of those things that was always in the back of the corner of my mind. And I'd always like, if I was like sad or like I would see somebody like love lost on a movie, that song would play in my head. And I'm like, oh, Eve. God,
my
Eve.
Baby's gone.
Yes.
It is a good song, actually. I mean, if a little on the nose. Like,
yeah.
My baby, my literal baby is gone. Like, but
thanks for letting me go on that tangent. I just needed to throw out there.
I love a tangent.
Eve. I love Eve so much.
You know what? These episodes made me like Eve better because she apologized to Chad. We will get there. But yeah, no, I remember back in the day not having an issue with Eve. And I guess I just didn't remember her being so bigoted towards Chad, which is like, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, commentary from Mama Vera. My mom would watch, and she'd be like, "What is her problem with that young man? Like, he's not doing anything. He's like always." I mean, she was just so terrified of the same things happening to her girls that happened to her. And I get that, but Chad's never given you a single reason to be like that towards him.
Also, the things that happened to her were Julian.
Yeah,
Julian happened to her. He is the complete opposite, had the
yeah,
complete opposite upbringing of Chad. He is
yeah,
very different. So, like, again, you should be leery of rich people if that's
yeah,
your issue. You know, like people's upbringing defines who they are for you. Then you should be
yeah.
up. You should have a problem with Ethan
Yeah, and I
being
will
around your
give them.
kids.
I'll give them a little bit of grace because I do know that whether it's in Hidden Passions or in the actual show, that Alistair had a lot to do with the fact that he separated them. But yes, Julian did not. It's anyway. It's a good tangent. But Julian and Ivy were not helpful in the demise of their relationships. Like they just sat idly by and let these things happen.
Correct. All right. So where are we? Oh Lord, Teresa. Let's talk about Teresa within this Sheridan
Yes,
situation.
gotcha.
Teresa like comforts Luis. This actually pissed me off, and I'm like a big Teresa lover, as you know.
Mhm.
Like I love Teresa,
Yeah,
but this was like a step too far for me.
not the time.
Not the time. She goes over to like comfort Luis while he's cradling Sheridan's lifeless body. This is like
Yeah,
right before she gasps for air. And she's like, yes, losing someone you love must be the worst kind, is the worst kind of pain, isn't it? And she kind of like alludes to her losing Ethan in this moment right now. Now is the moment that you think that you choose to bring
yeah.
this up. And so, but then Luis actually, he says to her, you know, I kind of understand what you are going through with Ethan right now, which is interesting that he would say that because, like, what you are going through is way different than what
Yes.
she is going through with
Yeah.
Ethan. Ethan is not dead.
And I think it's just like that sibling thing, right? Like his eyes opened up as well because I think once I know all hope is lost, he's sitting there going, you know what, Ethan isn't that bad of a guy, and I'm sure he saw how much Ethan loves Sheridan, and so that's I think what helps, like what gives him those words to talk to Teresa and be like, okay, sister, I get it, I understand. So it was
Yeah.
really, yeah, like you said, it's really pretty.
It was what Luis did in this moment was actually so gracious and so sweet and so kind. He says to her, you know, I've been really pigheaded about Ethan. And he says, and this is something I brought up last week and the week before, who am I to tell you that who you can and can't love? Who
Yeah,
am I to tell you that you can't love Ethan?
yeah,
And he says, love is so rare and precious. When you find it, you shouldn't let anyone take that away from you. And it was really beautiful. And I'm glad
yeah,
that he learned that lesson, albeit the hardest way possible, you know.
yeah.
Um,
I will say, out of the siblings in the series, the at least the Lopez Fitzgeralds kind of stick by each other, at least up until this point. They do really like care for each other. There's not anybody like selling souls to like hurt the other one or hurt the other family member. So yeah.
yeah, no, of the siblings in this show, they are definitely have the healthiest
Yeah.
relationships. I think part of that is that they just don't ever see each other either. Like they're like the Starks. They're just like scattered about, you
Yeah,
know, and
they
they hardly
really
ever see
are.
each
Yeah,
other.
living their own lives until they
Yeah.
intersect, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, hey."
They never see each other, and then when they see each other, they have to catch each other up on like 3 months of their lives. Like, oh yeah, here's something that happened 3 months ago that I didn't tell you. So, but I guess, what do they say? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?
Yeah. Hey,
So
Miguel, did Charity ever stop trying to kill you?
does
It's like,
Miguel go home? Does Miguel ever go home? If I
mm-mm.
was Grace, I would be like, boy, you gotta leave my house. You hear too much. Go, Pilar misses you. Go home. See your
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
Go home. I never see him in that house.
Never.
He's
Never.
always up Charity's ass.
Yeah.
Ugh. So anyway, while all of this happens, so Sheridan like gasps for air. Hank tells Sam that this is all his fault, and he
Yeah.
explains the whole thing. And that's when Sam is like, "Wait, why did Roger and Pierre come to you to kill Sheridan? What is it that they have on you that would make you murder a person, would make you agree to murder a person? I'm still irritated that they have not told us what that thing is. And I don't know that they ever will tell us what that thing is.
I couldn't remember. And I was sitting there going, did I miss something? I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the series, but I was like, wait, what did he do? I mean, they're the drug cartel, but we never get what he did, you know? Weird.
Yeah. And it was interesting because Sam asked Hank, why didn't you trust me? Why didn't you trust me? Which was my question from the beginning. Again, what is it that they have on him? It must be something insane, because my immediate reaction when somebody comes to me and says, like, I need you to murder this person who is, like, by the way, your friend and you wanted to marry her. Like, that's a lot. When somebody comes to me and say, I need you to murder this person, or I'm going to blackmail you, I would immediately go to my brother, who's the chief of police. And we all know that Hank's bad at his job. Not Hank. Sam's bad at his job. Sam's bad at his job. He probably just covered the shit up. Like, he probably would.
With his shirt.
Yeah. He covered up with his shirt. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need a shirt. I mean, it's unnecessary. He was shirtless so much in these episodes.
Yeah. It's okay. Give people the eye candy they want.
Give the ladies what they want. Not just ladies. Give us all what we want.
Yes.
Give us what we want. That man is something else. I mean,
and there's a reason. There's a reason why Ivy doesn't give up. I'm surprised she doesn't have a shirtless picture of him in her locket.
I would be saying fuck Grace too. Grace go to hell too. Shit. I would be right there with Ivy. I had you, lost you, about to get you back.
Yeah.
But so Sam finds all of this out. He's very upset. He says, you know, your plan didn't work. Like nothing you ever do does. Like, this was, I mean, Hank deserved it. Hank fucking deserved it.
Yeah.
Sam said all the things that were important to say, but he was mad and he clearly showed his anger. And he said some hurtful things. He was like, you broke our father's heart, and now you've broken my heart. It was very much, have you seen The Godfather? It was very much, you broke my heart.
Yeah.
Fredo.
Really good.
You broke my fucking heart.
It's so, well, first of all, I'm like, you know, I'm a big Latino family, but I was like, I don't think I could ever do, I mean, I would fight with my brother from time to time, but it never would be like I'm done with you. That was never an option. I was never going to be done with my brother. So that was interesting to me. But I also thought, I was like, hey, Grace is doing something. Like Grace was like, calm down. Like this, like you need to like fix this. Like I actually appreciated Grace in that scene. And you know what? I gotta say, the episode that you all did with the actress who played her, Dana Sparks?
Dana Sparks. Mm-hmm.
Dana Sparks. It was so great because I, for years, was like, oh, Grace. Grace. But hearing from the actress, I was like, I'm gonna give Grace some grace. I was like, you know what? This lady has a hard job of acting out this character that does not get the greatest storylines, that does not get the greatest dialogue. She has to be wimpy and like, and you know, scared and stuff. But when she gets aggressive or when she's there to sew up some problems, that character does a lot of stuff. And I never realized it until after I heard her interview with you all, and then watching her now, I'm like, I got some more respect for Grace as a character.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there too. Like, I remember growing up as Grace. Like, she's such a goody, you know.
Yeah, tomato soup cakes.
But yeah, after talking with Dana and just kind of hearing about her experience and how she herself was like, oh my gosh, this is, you know, I got to find a way to make this interesting every week. And like, she had a tough job because like you said, they didn't give her the greatest material and she didn't have the best like character. And, but in the moments when they gave her like good dialogue or a little bit of a monologue, she does a beautiful job. Like when she has her moments, she does not waste them. So.
Yeah. And they can't all be Teresa's and Tabitha's and like these big characters. Like she's solid. And like I said, I enjoyed her trying to calm Sam down and trying to console Hank. I was like, this is some good stuff.
Yeah. At one point, Hank and Eve jump into this kind of conversation and try to defend Hank and say, like, it's not his fault. Roger and Pierre are the ones who blackmailed him. They're the ones who wanted to kill Sheridan. And Hank, Sam's like not having it. He's just like, no, because
Yeah.
none of this would have happened if Hank hadn't done whatever he did and gotten mixed up with the wrong people. None of this would have happened. We also find out again, I will say, Hal Freeman. I realized like Hal Freeman is the worst cop on this show, because we find out that the whole plot, like, he knew about the whole plot, but decided to tell no one else about it. Like, we find out that Hal Freeman heard from Hank, like, hey, Roger and Pierre are blackmailing me. I'm a fucking criminal. Like, I want to also bring the listeners' attention back to, I don't know, episode 50 when Hank showed up. Yeah. He sees himself on like the FBI's most wanted list.
Yeah. So he did something outrageous.
But how does Hal Freeman like working with this FBI's most wanted and this man is not arrested? I just don't understand. He's working with this man who's a criminal, and then doesn't tell any of the other FBI that this is what he's doing. On.
Yeah.
He's very bad at his job.
Yeah.
So, but Sam, Sam is not hearing it. Everybody tries to come to Hank's defense. Sam's like, I how can I ever respect you again? I don't hate you, but I don't like you.
Yeah.
You don't love anybody but yourself. Like, so much. And then he's like, you always look down on Dad because he was a cop. You told him that he was making chump change and that he was a chump, and that broke his heart. And you come back into town with stacks and stacks of money, racks on racks on racks. And we all were like, where's he getting this money? Blah, blah, blah. So they go at it for a while.
Yeah.
But at one point, Sam tells Hank, you are no longer my brother. Yes. Period. We're done. We're through. You're no longer my brother. We're not family. I don't want you coming around my family. And Sam is right. Sam is absolutely right, because the point that he makes is, how do I know that someday down the line you won't get mixed up with some bad person from your past won't come back and try to hurt my family, which 100% happened. And Hank didn't say anything about that. Les was going to shoot Kay and Jessica. Nobody knows about that. Nobody except for Hank.
That's right.
But so he has put their family in danger. And I would be with Sam on saying, like, you can't come around here anymore.
You got me on that one. Yeah. That's those are bigger circumstances than I've ever had to face. But yes, they are. that warrants dismissal, I guess.
Yeah. Like, when you are
trying to have my kids murdered.
Right. When you start to put all of us in danger because of your choices, then we have a big problem. Okay, so that whole situation happened at the hospital. Let's talk about, we're done with them. Oh, no, we're not. Let me finish them real quick. Hank. So Sam says, I'm done with you. You're not my brother anymore. And then he kind of storms off, but doesn't leave, apparently.
Yeah. I thought he did it. He didn't. It looked like he did.
Storms off and doesn't leave. And Grace is standing there with Hank and tells Hank, you should go after him and you need to beg his forgiveness. And Hank just pours out his whole heart and soul about how much he looks up to Sam and how much he has always loved him and how much he doesn't believe that he's like a chump, and he didn't feel that way about their dad, and he doesn't look down on them, and like he actually envies them so much and all of these things, and how much he loves them, and how he, all his real feelings. And then Sam comes walking back in the room and heard everything because he just stood there and listened, I guess. And Grace was like, I knew you were there the whole time. Huh? Okay, Grace. So they make up immediately, and then they go off to open Christmas presents because, y'all, it's Christmas Eve. The time in this.
I kept forgetting throughout this whole episode that it was Christmas.
It was just spring. That's my biggest issue right now. Like, it's not that Sheridan is going in and out of like a coma and coming alive, and now she's dead and now she's alive again. No, my biggest issue is that Ethan and Gwen's wedding day was the day that Sheridan got shot. That was two, that was approximately 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Okay. They were supposed to get married and it was warm outside. They were supposedly having a spring wedding, but that was the summertime. Honestly, it was like July that this
Yeah.
day started.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how they can stretch shit out for so long.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, it's Christmas. We got to put up some Christmas decorations because it's actually Christmas now. And now we're just going to we're just going to forget that all this other time that happened. And it's just Christmas. Not only is it Christmas time, it is Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's Christmas Eve. Okay.
We got to catch up to the actual calendar.
So Sam, Hank, Grace, they all go home to open Christmas presents. Meanwhile, Sheridan fighting for her damn life. So they have rushed Sheridan to the hospital because she's alive. She's breathing. We find out Sheridan needs an MRI to find out if she's going to be able to breathe on her own.
Yeah.
Turns out Sheridan has sustained too much brain damage. And I assume that's from the lack of oxygen because she didn't have like any blunt force trauma or anything.
Yeah.
I just assume it's the lack of oxygen. So they say she had too much damage to this important part of her brain. They didn't say exactly what, but I'm not mad about that. And she's not going to be able to breathe on her own. Then they're like, what were her wishes? Does she want to be kept alive by machines? Now, I simultaneously hated this and loved this. Like, it's so interesting because that was I don't know if you remember, but that was such a huge issue around this time, like taking people off of life support. Do you remember that?
Yes. I can't remember. Was it Terry Schiavo? Was that what was going on? Yeah.
Yes. I think that was around the same time. So it was like people were having this debate, and I kind of loved how Passions was like, well, you know what, we're gonna throw this in.
Yeah. We're gonna make commentary about this this very important issue on our soap opera where we have a doll running around, but we got to talk about these important issues.
These important issues. Although I'm not gonna I don't love the commentary that was made, which is like a miracle will happen. You should never pull somebody off of life support because a miracle will happen.
That's basically what they said. Well, and then it was like, okay, who's the power of attorney? Well, my father. I was like, how is Julian the power of attorney for Sheridan? Like,
yeah, well, they said that Julian was her next of kin.
Next of kin. Gotcha.
I am pretty sure my next of kin is my mom.
Yeah. Which I guess do I really want Alistair in charge of my
That's true. But on no planet would my brother be my next of kin.
No, not Julian. Yeah.
Not Julian, not my real brother. That man will pull the plug so damn quick. No. I need somebody who care about me.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's like it would make sense if she would have already had Ethan on there. But, you know, sometimes people, I mean, she's so young. So when you're young like that, people don't think about those things. So I would have just assumed that she didn't have one. But her being like an heiress and stuff, maybe that's why she did.
It's interesting because Julian's her next of kin, but Ethan is the executor of her will.
Yeah.
So I guess he can make the decisions for Julian.
That's what I was like, how do we get past this loophole? Because I thought, they're gonna have to call Julian.
Me too. And he's definitely gonna pull the plug.
Yeah, and then they just bypassed that. They were like, all right, here you go. It's Ethan. We've decided it's Ethan today.
Yeah, they just didn't even do anything about it. They didn't even call Julian. It was weird. It was odd.
That's what I was waiting for. I mean, they called to let him know that somebody was trying to steal her like jewelry, but they didn't call to tell her that she was alive
and might need to go off of life support.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's quite odd. But Ethan is the executor of her will, and in her will, she said that she did not want to be kept alive by machines, which I can respect.
Yeah.
Personally, I was thinking about this because I've never thought about this before, and I should probably put it down in writing or something.
Yeah.
I am getting older. It's like I'm getting to that age where it's like I got to start thinking about like if something happens, where does my money go? Who do I, what do I want? What are my wishes? But I was thinking, I was like, what would be my wishes? And I think I will want to be kept alive for a year. And if I don't come back within a year, like pull the plug. But give me a year, y'all.
That's what I said something like, feel it out. Give me a little time. Like, give me a little time to see what's going on, and then use your best judgment. I trust you, but like, give me a shot. Give me a little time.
Yeah, same. Well, Ethan takes no time at all.
Oh yeah,
Honestly, he was like, pull the plug.
yeah. He was just like, this is what my aunt wanted, so we got to get it done. And he's
Yeah,
like looking at Luis, and Luis is like, no.
yeah, Luis
Yeah,
gets really upset, understandably so. He's like, well, and this is why I hated this, because
yeah.
why? We just got Sheridan back. Just let
Mhm.
her be in the coma for a little bit and then wake her up. Like, why do this part? Why
Yeah,
did we do this? It was such a waste of time because
it was too.
it
Yeah,
ultimately was completely moot.
it was too fast. It was too fast, and it was very obvious they were like, we got to
Yeah,
wrap this up. Like,
nobody pulls the plug in 3 minutes.
especially on
Nobody.
passions when days last years. Why were we going to spend 3 minutes making a decision, a life decision?
You're really gonna pull, like, you just thought that Sheridan was alive after she was dead, and you're really gonna pull the plug after like 2 minutes?
Hank took a
No.
week to shoot her. I mean,
Hank
like,
took, honey, it took a week for her to die in the first
yeah,
place.
yes, yeah.
Look, so actually it has taken 300 and something episodes for her to die. They've been trying to kill her since episode 1.
Yeah,
Actually, she was in a coma early on, which was like really actually a light nap. Like,
yeah,
she wasn't, and nothing was actually wrong with her. Kind of like Teresa when she went into her little coma.
yeah,
Nothing was wrong with her. She just lost her will to live.
yeah.
Ugh. Oh, the show.
Oh, so
So
good.
the, they pull the plug, and she flatlines. It is very sad. Luis loses his shit, and he's super emotional. But Ethan sees how Luis is reacting, because also we should say Luis multiple times like gets physical with Ethan
Yes,
about
yeah.
this decision to pull the plug.
And I think it's, I think a lot of it is he continues to have hope. He continues to have hope, but now he's, again, it's still that, like, that fire inside him that, like, I hate the Crane so much. It just, I think he reverts right back to it. And he's like, you're not even giving her a chance. Like, look at what she's gone through. Like, give her a chance. Like, she clocked me. Like, she did her best to try to survive that ordeal. And now you're like, well, she didn't do it.
Oh well,
Yeah,
like, she didn't make it. Gotta pull the
I have.
plug.
He's like, Ethan's like, I have too many hard choices to make right now. Either, okay, I can't deal with this, so I'm gonna kill my aunt because I really need to focus on Gwen and Teresa. I can't pick.
Yeah.
Too many choices, y'all are making me think too hard. I'm a Crane. I just go places. Why are you making me have difficult decisions?
Yeah, I gotta pull the plug because I really gotta make this decision by midnight tonight
Yes,
on
a,
Teresa and Gwen. So I really need
a
to free up
deadline
some
I set for
space.
myself.
I need to free up some brain space. Yeah, no, Ethan. I mean, he obviously struggled with it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. It
But
was on
he
his face.
knew.
Yeah,
I think he knew that ultimately he had to pull the plug anyway. So I think he wanted to just do it. I just don't think it's very realistic. I think a lot of people would like wait a little bit.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let Julian, like, tell Julian, Ivy, Alistair, tell
Yes.
them, like, come to the hospital so people
Family
can say their
meeting.
fucking goodbyes to her.
And sadly, he would have gotten the, like, kill her from Alistair and from Julian, but
Yeah.
like, but yeah, you're right. Consult the family, or at least talk to the one member of your family that has a heart, and say, Ivy, mother, what do I do? No, he was just like, this is what she said, and we got to go to midnight mass. So,
Like,
time's
yeah,
ticking.
time's a ticking. We got to go to church. Church waits for no man. Like, what is this? What was this? The fact, why did they put this? No, I understand. No, I understand why they did it. I understand why they did it, because it's a fucking Christmas miracle. It's like,
Yeah.
because she like wakes up at like midnight or whatever
Yeah.
and comes to the church. It's a Christmas miracle. Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But why? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why do all of this like this?
All that exposition just to end the storyline immediately.
Whatever. So what I don't understand is like the fact that they pushed this to Christmas Eve. Like, we could have done this for I would have been okay with us doing this for a day or two.
Yeah.
We did it for 75 seconds, like a minute and a half. Like,
And I think it would have been cool to see some like more sincere goodbyes, like to have, Julian sit there and be like, I was never really good to you, sister,
Yes.
or Ivy being like, oh, I should have been closer to you. You and I had very similar struggles. It would have, they could have had some good goodbyes, but no, they were like, we're good.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, Louise tells the comatose Sheridan because they pull the plug on her and she flatlines, but then she starts to breathe again. And
Mhm.
the sentences that I say on this podcast. She flatlines and then she starts to breathe again. And Luis gets hope. He's like, look at that. She's breathing on her own. Eve poo-poos him, is like, that just happens sometimes. It might go on for
Yeah.
a long time, but she's never going to be the same Sheridan. Even if she
Yeah.
does wake up, she's just, her brain is just fucked up. She's all done. She's a vegetable at this point.
Yeah.
And Luis tells Sheridan, I'm going to go to mass. I'm going to go to midnight mass. I'm going to pray for a Christmas miracle. And that's what he does. They go to midnight mass and he prays for a Christmas miracle. And Sheridan walks in all dressed in white like an angel.
Yeah.
Like, where'd she get these clothes?
I have no idea. Like, it's the logistics, right?
Did she go home?
She gets up. Something like, who's helping her? They're all at midnight mass. Who does she talk to? One of the nameless people of Harmony, and was like, y'all, take me to my cottage. I have this ensemble. It's perfect for the occasion. I would think that she would have to do some physical therapy, maybe some speech therapy, maybe.
Right. I imagine there's a long road ahead of you, Sheridan. But no, not on Passions. No, she had to go get fabulous and go to church, honey.
Yeah.
She went to church, showed up as Luis was having a prayer by himself outside of the sanctuary. Like, I don't know what you call that. I'm not Catholic. What do you call that? Like the vestibule?
Yeah, the little temple that's right there beforehand. Yeah.
So he's like praying for a Christmas miracle and he gets one. Sheridan walks in like an angel and they embrace and they kiss. Yeah. And that's kind of where we ended this week. And I feel like, I know that Sheridan is alive. We all know that Sheridan is fine. I feel like if you were watching this for the very, very first time, the way they did it makes it seem like it's possible that she's like not actually there, that he's having
or that she's either dead or that he's fantasizing that this is what it is. Yeah, but, you know what? I think Angel 45, who played Catherine, was like, you know what? I got you. I'm just gonna re-energize you. Give you a little spinach. Girl. Yeah, like Popeye, and you're gonna walk right out of that hospital.
A little spinach. All right, so let's move on. That's it for Shawise this week. And I feel like I talked so long about that. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I feel like I've taken up so much of your time.
Not at all. Don't worry. It's fun. Okay. It's great.
Okay, I'm glad you're having fun. I always feel like I need to like push through because I don't want to take up people's time.
What you do is so, when I would do this, it's so hard to summarize what you've watched and to like, I think what you do such a great job of really compacting all of it and just kind of, because it's 5 episodes. And even though not a lot happens in 5 episodes, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
With all of the storylines that they cram into it. So yeah, no, I totally get it.
All right. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about Fate. Not a lot here this week.
Not a lot
here this week. So here are the bullet points. Tabitha reads Teresa's future in her tea leaves. She predicts that she would be wearing a veil at church and crying, which Teresa took to mean she would be marrying Ethan soon. Okay. Gwen told Teresa that even if Ethan did choose her, she would never let him marry her. Ooh, yeah. Child. And Ethan finally makes his decision at midnight mass. On the Chad and Whitney front, Dr. Russell apologizes to Chad for the way she's treated him and gives her blessing for him to be in her daughter's lives. And Chad and Whitney kiss. So let's talk about Teresa real quick. My girl, I love Teresa, but she is, I don't know.
Yeah, so
this is not, I don't understand. Actually, I don't understand Ethan or Teresa in this moment, or Gwen, honestly. Yeah. Actually, I do understand Gwen because Gwen's a villain, so of course she's like shitty. But like, Sheridan is dead, y'all. Like, this woman just died again. Like, Can we take
And
a moment to give her her time?
at one point, I don't know if it's the episodes before or this one, but I was so happy that Pilar's like, can you honestly be thinking about yourself right now when your brother is going through the hardest thing he will ever have to face? And of course, it's always Pilar and it's always Whitney that has to tell Teresa, like, girl, we get it. You love him. But can you just think about somebody else for 5 seconds? But even when she thinks about somebody else, she finds a way to be like, wow, you have a really pretty purple dress on. That purple reminds me of the day that I went to the carnival with Ethan. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you go back? She
Yes.
always manages to figure it out.
All roads lead to her and Ethan for her.
Yes.
All roads. It doesn't matter what we're talking about.
I will say again, I slept on Teresa, and my mom was so mad because again, I had a huge crush on Charity, and in Spanish, my mom was like, "Pero por qué? Ella no tiene chiste." She would always be like, Charity has no flavor. She has nothing about her to like."
I'm
And
with your mom.
yes, I knew you would get along. You would get along with Mama Vera just fine. But she'd be like, "Teresa, mira qué bonita, Teresa," and she was. I'm like, I look at her, I'm like, God, she's so beautiful, and the actress is so talented. Lindsay is fantastic, and it's like those big eyes. I mean, those eyes are like mesmerizing. And then I just always remember anytime Teresa would just be like, but mama, and but Ethan, and like the crying. My mom would always say the same thing every episode. She'd be like, ay, pobrecita Teresa, te duele la cabeza. She would always the same thing over and over. Poor Teresa, her head hurts, but it sounds way better in Spanish because
Yeah, it does. No, I love Teresa. And again, I do think that she is just the most beautiful woman in the fucking world. I think she is just so gorgeous.
When I think of passions, I think Tabitha and Timmy first, but I think Teresa. Like that to me, it's about Teresa.
It's her show.
Yeah.
Tabitha and Timmy for sure, iconic. And yes, when you think passions, that when I say something about passions to someone who like is like, oh, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, it was a soap opera and it had like that witch. Like, do you remember it had the show that had the witch and the doll? And people remember that immediately. They're like, oh yeah, I do remember that show that had the witch and the doll. But for anybody who, I feel like for anybody who like watched soaps or watched Passion specifically, like Teresa is this show. Like so much of this show is about her.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll jump into this now or later because we're getting into some magic with Tabitha reading her tea leaves and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always so I loved looking at that stuff. And if is that where we're going, or we're gonna go to Ethan?
We're gonna start with the tea leaves.
Okay. Yeah. The tea leaf stuff. I was always intrigued by that, but my mom and Pilar were one and the same because Pilar's like, I'm not having any of that shit. Get that brujeria out of my way. She was like, hell no. I mean, and I'm like sitting there going, I love Tabitha. I love Juliet Mills. Like I love her so much. But if I'm Pilar, I'm straight up like, that lady's a bruja. Like she's a witch.
Yeah.
Like how does no? I mean, like, and they're just like kooky little old lady. I'm like, that lady's got tarot cards. She's saying, let me read your tea leaves and see what's going on. I mean, like, and Pilar's acting in that is so good. She's got the side eye perfect on.
Yeah,
on
she
Tabitha.
Can't stand it. She can't stand it. She's like, get this witchcraft out of here.
Yeah. And
I don't want this evil. This is inviting evil into your home. Like very
Let
much.
me tell you, when I was young, I went to Walden Books. That's how long ago it was.
Oh, I remember Walden Books. I used to love Walden Books.
Oh, heck yeah. And I'm perusing through and I found a deck of tarot cards and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna learn how to read the tarot and be like Tabitha, like almost like I'm gonna do this. And I learned a little bit. My mom found them. She threw that shit in the trash. She's like, not in my house. Devil be gone. She threw that shit away.
And you're in Texas, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I grew up in Tennessee, so I know like there's a lot of that in Tennessee. In the South in general, like you can't you can't read Harry Potter. And my parents, it's weird. My parents would pick and choose times when they felt like they wanted to be like extremely religious.
Exactly.
And I remember we weren't supposed to read Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But then my dad took me and my brother to the movies, and bought us a ticket to see Harry Potter while he was going to see another movie because it was like the only movie that was playing that was like appropriate for us to go
Yeah.
see. And he was like going to see something else that was like rated R, and he sent us to the other. So it's like he didn't really care.
Yeah. No, and my mom was my brother and I were 10 years apart, so she was way stricter on him than she was on me. But at the same time, when I had those tarot cards, she like, yeah, she was like, yeet, throw them out of the house. But at the same time, I was just like, Ma, it's like a game. It's like Milton Bradley, you know, like it's only serious if you put time into it. She was like, I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, I finally got a new set, and this one she approves of because it's the Golden Girls. So
Oh, I love it.
again, I am not the great. I dabbled in it. I'm not the best at it. I can still remember some things, but this one I just got because I'm like, it's a Golden Girls tarot card set. There's no evil in this. It's just pure happiness.
Eric, we have to read our things on the post show. You have to read the tarot cards. You have to do.
Oh, I'm so rusty. I wouldn't know what to do. I bought them just because I was like, it's the Golden Girls. I gotta have them. But
you know what? I know nothing about it. I know nothing about tarot cards, but I love when I have somebody's tarot cards and like, I don't know, I get drunk and I'll fuck around at people's houses and stuff. And I'll just like start doing readings. And I'm just like, I don't know what any of the cards actually are. It's just like the knight said, like you've pulled the reaper, the death is coming for you. Like, girl, I don't know.
Basically it's just storytelling, right? And it comes to actors very easily. I was when we were in middle school, I did them for my friends, and my friend to this day, he will still be like, don't you remember what you read in my cards? And I'm like, bro, I was just having fun. It was like Parker Brothers, like Milton Bradley fun. I swear to God, it didn't mean anything, but it happened. I'm like, maybe you willed it to happen. I swear it's nothing like that. And if I had some powers, I'd be, you know, stealing souls and doing much more fun stuff than predicting other things.
Right. Like I would just be putting money in my bank account.
Yeah.
Small increments.
Yeah.
Like paycheck amounts. Like for a decent 6-figure job. Like that's what I would be doing if I had money. I mean, if I had powers.
We will get there soon. But I think Tabitha was the smartest when she was using her powers to hide from the IRS. That is exactly what I would do with my powers.
Yes, but I just don't understand why they can see that she has 300 years worth of back taxes on her house. Like she clearly didn't do a good job of hiding. Like you should have completely deleted it with your powers. It shouldn't come back. It shouldn't show up. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. All right.
Well, we digress.
Let's talk about Fate, Teresa, Tabitha. Tabitha's at the Bennett's house. Everybody's at the Bennett house. Everybody but the men who are on the rescue mission, and Eve, who has been thrown into the ocean. So Tabitha is like reading everybody's tea leaves as a fun little parlor game, whatever. And she Pilar's like super against it. She's like, no, one, it's like witchcraft, and two, she's worried that Tabitha will say something that will just get Teresa's hopes up for Ethan. And Tabitha reads the tea leaf. She puts down Teresa's and she picks up Pilar's, and she's like, well, let me read yours then. It's like, if I didn't want you read my daughter's, I don't want you reading mine either. But she does it anyway. And
Tabitha's smart about it too, because she looks down at them and she's like, oh, well, I mean, she is a good, like, you know, she is a really good tarot card reader in the like how or like a tea leaf reader, you know, that way of getting you in. I didn't want to use the word carny. It's not the word I'm looking for.
She's
but
like drawing people in like a carny.
Or like a con artist. Yeah, like a con artist, right? Like that, somebody to like get you to play along for a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And she does a great job because they are intrigued. I mean, of course, Teresa does believe in these things, and she really does later on tell Tabitha, I really do think you can see the future. And I think enough crazy crap has happened in Harmony that they're like, Tabitha has like they know something about Tabitha, but there's this weird little veil over their eyes where they suspend this belief. I don't know. But
I don't know either, because we just had the fireball. Like it's crazy how short their memories are of things.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, this isn't real. That couldn't possibly be real. That couldn't possibly happen. It's like, y'all just survived a magic fireball that was destroyed by a magic light from a box.
Gracie's angels. I mean, like, there's all of these all this proof around them. but they don't. They're like, and Tabitha's a kooky old lady.
Yeah. So Tabitha does manage to read Pilar's tea leaves, and she tells Pilar that a man is coming back into her life, a man after a very long absence. He's been gone
Yes.
for a long time, a man she misses terribly and never stopped loving. And Miguel and Teresa start to speculate. Teresa's like, maybe it's Papa. And
Yeah.
Miguel's like, or Antonio. And
Yeah.
like, so, I
'Cause-
mean, it could be either or, right?
yeah.
It could be either or. I mean, we know it could
I
be either
know.
or.
I know. I'm sitting there going, "Oh, geez, here we go." What is exciting about this is I'm remembering storylines, and I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna be fun because they're already giving us." And I can see, right, because it's Christmas Eve. That means they're wrapping up the end of the that year. So they really are. The writers are really giving us some. These things are coming, which I think is fun. Like to use Tabitha that way to say, just so you know, if you tune in, some Pilar's got a man coming in, which I wish to hell that Pilar would meet a nice man at some point.
I know it's fucked up.
Yeah, because she is such a catch.
I really love Pilar. If Pilar spent 50% of the time she spends on other people on herself,
Yeah.
like I think she would be much happier. Like
Yeah.
she's put so much effort into everybody else and doesn't do anything for herself.
Yeah.
And that's why she they don't give her a love interest, I think.
Yeah.
Part of they know her plate is full.
She's got too many kids that are here, kids that are not here. So she and in typical Mexican fashion, it's all about the kids. She puts her kids first before herself. I will always say that it's so funny to call her Pilar because my mom would always be like, Pilar, like she would say her name correctly,
right?
And she would call them by their, like, Teresa. She would say those things, and it's like, and then I would be like, yeah, Teresa and Pilar. I love when they emphasize Peelar.
Yeah,
Pilar.
Pilar.
I'm like, that's heavy. Pilar is okay. We can do Pilar. I know you can, people. The people in Harmony are like, Pilar is on her way. Pilar is making her annual tamales.
Yeah.
It was really hard to sit through that. I was like, oh God.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, Pilar is having her tea leaves read. No, but she, Tabitha tells her this. She gets a little uncomfortable with it. And then Tabitha's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make people uncomfortable. And she basically leaves. She's like, I'm going to leave.
Before that happens, but when she does say that, she's like, Tabitha's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I look into what this kooky old lady's done again. No one ever invites me over.
Yeah.
And then it's like dead silent. The phone rings and no one consoles. Grace's like, I gotta get the phone. Like nobody tries to, like, Christmas spirit, be like, no, Tabitha, we love you. You're always welcome. I'm such a kooky lady. Nobody loves me. And they're like,
your doll does.
Yeah. Yeah.
We think that doll really likes you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so she's leaving and Teresa catches her in the backyard and Gwen shows up. Gwen's just like hiding in the bushes. She's in Tabitha's regular hiding spot.
Yes.
Like in the bushes at the Bennett home, like spying. I don't know what she's doing there.
Like Michael Myers, like, emerges from the shadows. It is incredible horror shot where she just magically shows up, and I'm like, have you been there the whole time? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So
Teresa has no life and is a stalker. Hello, Kettle.
Right, pot meat kettle. So Teresa catches up with Tabitha and asks what she saw in her tea leaf. She's like, I really want to know. And Tabitha tells her, I saw you crying in church with a veil on. And Teresa takes this to mean that Ethan's going to ask me to marry him tonight. Yeah. I don't know where she gets this stuff. No, I don't know where she gets it.
And I love that she goes there and she's like, yes, it's done. It's complete. And whereas Tabitha, of course, in that beautiful soap opera acting, is like, of course, Teresa, people wear veils for other reasons at church.
Yeah. Like, people also wear veils at funerals. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, she didn't say you were wearing a white dress. She just said you were at church crying in a veil.
Yeah.
But Teresa does cry a lot, so that it
Yeah,
tracks
oh
for
yeah.
her.
Well,
She's like, of
so
course
that
I'll cry on my
so
wedding day.
that's gonna happen on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, like those are all the
Right.
days for
Like I
Teresa.
cry a lot. Which day is it gonna be? I cry a lot. So
If somebody told me that, I would wear a veil all the time to make sure it happened. They'd be
so
like, "You're gonna get married." Oh, I'll just wear a veil every
let me
day
just
so
put
that
on
I
my
make sure
veil
that.
now.
Yeah. Why are you wearing veils all the time? Making a fashion statement.
Because every day's my wedding day.
Yeah.
Every day is my wedding day. So as Teresa is running off, she's like, I gotta go. My favorite part was after Tabitha tells her she's gonna be crying in church with the veil on. She thinks she's gonna get married to Ethan. She says, Ethan's gonna go. Ethan's going to propose to me tonight. Then she says, I gotta go tell Ethan the good news.
Like, can you
It's
imagine
like,
her
what?
going up to Ethan, and God bless him, he's struggling with his aunt passing away, but being like, you know that crazy lady that lives in my neighborhood? She told me we're getting married, so you picked me, right? I mean, like,
I
how
yeah,
do you how do you say that?
I know your aunt's like in a coma, but I got some really good news. Like the fuck? I really got some good news from these tea leaves. I really wanted to share it with you. It's really your news.
Yeah,
It's really about you because you are supposed to be proposing to me tonight. I just thought you
yeah.
should know. I just
And
thought you should know.
I love that because Teresa walks off and then Gwen just sees it and walks away. And I'm like, did Tabitha see Gwen? Like, or could they not have like a hello, like some
Right.
little interaction?
Like Gwen had to walk right past Tabitha, but who Tabitha doesn't give a fuck. Tabitha's going back to her house. She's got other shit to deal with. She's like, fuck these people. So then Gwen like stops Teresa
Yeah,
because Teresa's like
follows
off
her.
to skipping off to give Ethan the good news that she said.
Yes.
And Gwen stops her and is like, give it up, Teresa. I've won. You know, they do the same back and forth they always do. I've won. He's mine. He's never going to marry you. You're so desperate. The fact that she called Teresa desperate was like,
Yeah.
it threw me because,
I
baby
was
girl,
like,
the desperation pouring off of you,
yeah,
the way you were at this house spying on
yeah,
this girl, like really, you are a grown woman with like
yeah,
an executive's job, and you have stooped so low.
yeah,
And she tells Teresa, Ethan's never gonna marry you, and if he proposes to you, I'll never let him marry you. Like threats,
yeah.
shots fired.
I gotta say, when I remember watching Passions, part of getting excited was about watching Teresa and Gwen go at it. I loved it. I loved it. I'm always gonna have respect for my OG Gwen, and I do love. Eventually, she will come back because to me, She was just. I don't know. She had such a good handle of being mean and angry and ugly and manipulative. But I always called them Hot Gwen and OG Gwen. Like I was like, oh, here's Hot Gwen, because I was like, I had a crush on this Gwen, which she's a great actress. Still, I mean, they're still working, still doing incredible things.
Yeah.
But it is so cool that they share this role, and I love them both in it. There was something about the blonde Gwen that was like had this like fire, like anger, hatred.
Yeah, I've said this
Awesome.
before. So people, apologies if other people have
Yeah.
heard this a million times. The first thing is Gwen has to be blonde. That
Yeah.
for me, Gwen has to be blonde because I feel like that was such a big part of the very beginning of
Yeah.
Teresa saying like he's with that she's a blonde and I'm just a brunette, and like
Yeah.
they're all like that blonde versus I just feel like Gwen has to be a blonde.
Mhm.
And then we've talked about on the show before too, where this second Gwen is great. Natalie Zay is
I love
great,
her.
but does give give Gwen like some more humanity, and
Yes.
she's not as great as at the viciousness. But the problem with Liza, original Gwen,
Yeah.
OG, is that she like has one level a lot.
Yes.
Like she's just like mean and
Yeah.
nasty and evil and like
Yeah.
for so yeah. So but I do agree with you. I prefer original Gwen
Yeah.
personally.
And just as a guest on here, I just wanted to like give shout out to both of them. I'm like, I remember how long watching this series and seeing those two people play that part. I was like, I I like them both. And seeing them in other projects makes me so happy. Like I saw this Gwen just recently on TV, and I was like, hey, it's Gwen. It's second Gwen. You know,
Yeah,
it's
she's in a new
exciting.
show. She's in a new
Yeah.
show called I
I
forget,
can't
not
I can't
Bridge to
remember.
Terra.
I
I'm
just
like saying
yeah.
Bridge to Terabithia, but that is
Yeah.
not it. It's like something about the ground opens up. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so cool to see them. I digress. I just watching Gwen go after Teresa and like confronting her. It's just like it's so funny when Gwen decides to be all high and mighty, but then she's in somebody's random stranger's yard and goes after Teresa and is like, "You're never gonna have him." I like that she said something along the lines of like, yeah, I doubt Ethan will ever pick you, but if he did, I would make sure that he never married you. It's
Right.
like, okay, so her main goal at this point is it's a competition and she wants to beat Teresa.
Yeah, her issue, Gwen does not, I've said this so many times. Gwen does not care about Ethan at all anymore.
Mhm,
Her
mhm.
main objective is to destroy Teresa. Like her
Yeah.
main objective is like, and even if Gwen doesn't know it yet,
Yeah.
that is what she is doing. That's what she wants to do. She does not care about Ethan. Ethan would be great and she would love the power and the money and it would make her mom happy and make her mom shut the fuck up. But at the end of the day, her issue is that she wants Teresa to lose. It's not about Ethan at all. She just wants Teresa to lose. She even says, Teresa says to Gwen, you know, people like you are so entitled. You think that you deserve everything just because you want it. You think you're supposed to get any and everything just because it's what you want.
And
And Gwen retorts, well, it's all about the haves and the have nots, isn't it? And
yes.
then Teresa says, even the haves can't get what they
Yes.
want all the
I
time. I
loved when
loved
she
it.
said that. It was like, good, let her know because that's true. Not everyone's going to get what they want. You could have all the money in the world, but it does not mean that you get to pick who you want and they're going to be forced to love you. And I thought Teresa actually had good clapbacks for once. She didn't sit down and was like, you know, she was like, no, Gwen. This is where I remember the shift where Teresa's like, you can't scare me anymore. I mean, you already came to my house with a bat. I'm done.
2 nights ago, let us not
Yeah.
forget. Let us not forget that was 2 days ago that she did that. It hasn't even been a full 42 hours.
Again, I know it. I don't want to rehash the past, but like I remember those episodes vividly because my mom was like, "What is her problem?" Like, hell no. Like that's where Pilar, if we had a Mexican writer in the group, they would have been like, Pilar would have beat some ass and not just been like, be careful, Teresa, watch out. No, ass would have been beat.
Yeah, it's two
Regardless
of
of a
us and
baseball bat.
it's two of us and one of you. Girl, stop playing. You are this is not happening in my house.
Yeah.
Not in my house.
Yeah, it was an event. It was an event. So that's why I was like, I just gotta say those things about that because that baseball day, it was an event.
It's iconic. It's so iconic. But so they're having this back and forth. Pilar comes out and gives them the news. Sheridan might still be alive. Everybody's going to the cemetery to dig up her grave. So
Which
everybody rushes
that
off
was
to the
off
cemetery.
stage, right? That was off camera. We never saw Grace have that conversation, right? Like Grace didn't get Grace got a phone call that the boys were safe, but they didn't tell her that Sheridan was alive.
Somebody called Grace, and I guess Grace called Pilar. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think it
Yeah,
happened
I don't know.
off, but I was like, oh, okay, all right, they know now.
I mean, they needed the information, and they got the information.
Yeah.
So everybody rushes off to the grave to dig up Sheridan, I guess. At the cemetery, and again, the timing in this show is so fucking crazy. So at the cemetery, all that shit happens with Sheridan. They dig her up. She's basically dead. She takes a breath, blah, blah, blah. In these moments, before they rush Sheridan to the hospital, Ethan takes this moment to tell the girls, I'm going to make my decision tonight. Why are you thinking about this? Like, why is that your priority right now? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
He tries to pass it off like life is too short, as we obviously can see with my aunt dying. So I'm going to make a choice and it's going to be at 12 o'clock midnight Eastern Standard Time. It was like, what are you?
we can't make we can't
nobody
take we can't do
cares.
this tomorrow or the day after. Like, take some time to grieve.
Yeah.
Be with yourself for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Ethan, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other
Yeah.
issue. And that I'm not gonna go down that. I'm gonna go off on my diatribe.
All I will say is I liked second Ethan more than first Ethan.
Everybody does. I like, seriously, I don't think I've encountered a person like on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok who is like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we love first Ethan. A lot of people, when I post clips with this Ethan, a lot of people are like, I don't remember him. You know, I'm gonna be quiet because I honestly like Ethan. I don't have anything against that actor, right?
Yes,
but, like,
exactly. Yes.
I mean, I don't like Ethan, but I don't have anything against the actor,
yes,
Travis.
Exactly. No,
obviously.
He's good. I remember seeing him in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I'm like, hey,
oh yeah,
Ethan.
yeah. He's done well for himself.
Yeah.
He played Subway in Community.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. Yeah, no, he's funny. So they rush off to the cemetery. Okay, so Ethan tells them, I'm gonna make my decision, tonight. I'm sorry for all the pain and hurt I've put you girls through, but I'm gonna make my decision tonight. And it seems like he's about to like tell them, but then Sheridan breathes. So we rush off to the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Then at the hospital, he's dealing with the dilemma of, do I or don't I pull the plug on Sheridan? And he pulls the plug. And he tells the girls, I'm going to ask one of you to marry me before midnight mass. So everybody gets ready for midnight mass. He tells everybody, I'm going to make this fucking announcement. He tells his mom, it's Pilar. Julian gets wind of it. Rebecca, everybody knows. So everybody decides to go to mass, not for Christmas, not for Jesus, but for Ethan's proposal. Okay. So they go to mass, and Ethan goes in and he sits down with his family, because that's what you do at mass.
Yeah.
He sits down with his family, but of course Rebecca and Gwen are there. So he sits down with them. Teresa takes this to mean he chose her.
Yeah.
So then at one point during the processional, I think they were singing like Angels We Have Heard on High. I don't know what it was. But Ethan walks across the aisle during the processional.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe it's just the singer in me. Maybe it's just the performer in me. I've had a lot of church gigs. I've done a lot of Christmas masses. I've done a lot of like things like that in church, and just like gone to church. Yeah. I'm like, this is inappropriate, sir.
I promise you, any priest would have been like, por favor, sir, sit down. You need to sit down. Like, mass it's Christmas. It's the biggest mass of the year. And
Jesus died for your sins. You can't wait. You can't wait 10 minutes, 30 minutes for a mass.
Yeah.
It's his birthday. It's his freaking birthday. You're ruining it. Yeah. So he walks across the aisle, and Teresa's like, Ethan, I hope you and Gwen have a very long and happy life together. All I ever wanted was your happiness. Aww. Also, I do want to say, I don't love this like trope between both of these women where they're like, all I care about is your happiness. Bullshit, you do. Bullshit. I'm sorry. Like, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I don't just care about your happiness. Yeah. I care about our happiness, mine and yours.
Or either one of you would have given up already and let somebody else move in and then said, I'm done. Go be happy.
Yes, exactly. But she says, I only ever wanted you to be happy. And he's like, you don't understand, Teresa. I just had to let Gwen down easy, but I want to marry you. You are the love of my life. You're the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. He gets down on bended knee and he says, you're the only woman for me, Teresa. Make me the happiest man in the world and be my wife. Will you marry me? And she, of course, says yes. And that is where we end it with them.
And I'm going to say, I was like, hey, give me some church tongue. Learn from Wedding Singer, because that was excessive. Jesus. I'm not even trying to take the Lord's name in vain. I'm just like, it's Jesus's birthday. I was like, have some respect. No church tongue. That was not church tongue. Drew Barrymore taught us better.
Respect for Jesus. It's his birthday and you're in his house. Like,
making out.
Yeah, so let's very quickly talk about Chad and Whitney.
Yes, I'm happy I got a little bit of Chan and Whitney. They weren't there that much, but I was excited to talk about Whitney because I really like Whitney. I like the actress so much.
Oh my
She's so
God,
good throughout
Brooke.
the
Oh
series.
my gosh,
She's so good.
she's so good. She's so beautiful.
Yes.
Yes, I love Brooke Kerr. I'm starting to like Whitney better.
Yeah.
She's has been unbearable for the last,
Yes.
you
No,
know.
I heard a couple of those episodes and I was like, all right. I was like, I struggle with the Simone Whitney thing because I'm like, Simone obviously would love Chad in a very, very different, sincere way when you really look back on it. I hadn't in a while. And so when I see that, I'm like, God, Whitney's so mean to Chad. Like, this is hard. And I'm like, Simone would get on my nerves because I was like, obviously the writers make me want Chad and Whitney together. But I'm looking back on it, I'm like, God, all Simone is saying is like, you're mean to him. Like I would take care of him. I would love him. I would. And when all of the doubt about that fake conversation with Hecuba and all that stuff, she never doubted him. So like
Mm-mm.
I'm looking at these episodes going, all right, Whitney gets a strike that she didn't have the first time I ever saw it.
Watching it with adult eyes is very
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
Watching it 20 years adult eyes and 20 years removed from that
Yes.
time period. So
Yeah.
it's like I've said this multiple times too. I identify very heavily with Simone in these
Hmm.
early episodes.
Hmm.
And because she's just like rock solid and a good friend, a good person. She's trying and she has
Yeah.
been living in that shadow of that sister for so
Yes.
long. And all she's saying is like, I just want something for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and but to the thing about Chad is, you like what you like, you love who you
Yeah.
love,
Uh-huh.
and it's unfortunate that he couldn't see the good and so like
Yeah.
romantically see
And
Simone as a partner,
and I could never figure out the age range between the two, between the three of them. I could never figure it out
okay,
back
so
then or now.
this is where I'm at with it. I believe that Whitney, because we just found out that Teresa is basically 18.
Got it. Okay.
We just found that out.
Yeah.
So I believe Whitney and Teresa are the same age,
Yeah.
18. I'm gonna say Whitney is 18, that they've both graduated high school, even
Yeah.
though nothing was done about that
Yeah.
in this show. Simone, I believe, is a junior in high school. So I'm
Okay.
gonna say that Simone is about 16, and I
Okay.
think Chad is about 20 years old
Okay.
because Eve's relationship with Julian happened 20 years ago. So
There we
we
go.
think that Chad is about
Yeah.
20 years old. So there's about 2 years difference between all of them,
Got it.
2018 to 16.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
So
that.
so with that said, now that I'm saying it out loud, Chad is too old for
Yeah,
Simone.
that's what I always thought. That's what I always thought when I watched it back then. I'm like, you're in the way. Like you're not. Again, I guess if they were older, it would make more sense. But I was always like, kid sister, you're in the way. Like, let Whitney do her thing. But at the same time, I'm like, Whitney doesn't want him, or Whitney does, but she keeps putting this facade on that she's like, my tennis career, my tennis career. So I'm like, I was like, okay, I don't know who to root for anymore. I just
And
want
she
Chad to be happy at this point.
exactly, that's how I feel too. And she abuses him. Whitney abuses him
Yes.
a lot. She's
Oh
very
yeah.
verbally abusive to him. But I will say, so I'm saying that Chad is too old for Simone. However, if we're just going with like the canon of the show,
Yeah.
Ethan is too old for Teresa. So if
Yes.
that's okay in the show, then
Then
this is
that's yes.
also
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
But
whatever.
and thank you for letting me chat about that again. I just again as a guest, I'm like, I'm happy I got a little bit of my feelings out for the Chad and Whitney storyline. But it is
I love talking about it.
yeah, no, and this episode, it's so not like I put on Dr. Russell and Chad reunited, and she's so happy that he's alive, and like she looks genuinely like again, kudos to the actress because she's just like it's all in her face that she's so happy Chad's alive because that's all she cared about on that boat.
Yeah, they did a
Oh,
good
and
job with
Sheridan too,
this.
I guess.
They did a good job with this. So we get to the hospital after the boat and everything, and after Eve gets all cleaned up and everything, she goes to TC and tells him, I got to break the news to you. Chad is dead. I watched him die. I watched him die. And TC knows Chad isn't dead. And he's just standing
Yeah.
there like, interesting.
Yeah.
And then Chad calls from one of the like stalls. They're in like an emergency room. He calls, Dr. Russell, is that you? Dr. Russell. And so she sees him. She's so thrilled to see that he is actually alive. He's thrilled to see she's alive. He thought she was dead. She thought he was dead. So they embrace. And this was really good.
Yeah.
And it was necessary.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about this. She gives Chad a great apology. She tells him, I was so wrong about you. I am so sorry. She says, I'm sorry for thinking the worst about you. And says from the moment she saw him, there was something about him that scared her. And she's so sorry she let that happen. And she says she was afraid because he was different. And Chad tries to let her off the hook a little bit.
Yeah.
And says, you were worried that I'd be a bad influence on your daughters. Like, I understand, don't beat yourself up about it. And she says, no, I shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. I was completely wrong. And I want to talk about this for a minute. She also says, if you want, I think you are a wonderful young man, and my daughters would be lucky to have you in their lives. I'm going to do everything I can to help you find your family. Like TC says, from now on, you are basically blood. Like, you are our family. But I do want to talk about this, and I've brought this up before, but this particular apology is so interesting because I've said this before, the way they put such bigoted sentiments in the mouths of Black people about other Black people, about another Black person, is so frustrating to me. And this specific apology I've had said to me by like a white woman. So and it's like, it just made me feel very like it's a good apology. I'm glad they did this for Eve, but they shouldn't have done it in the first fucking place.
I agree with you. And now with what I do now versus what I was doing when I was watching it, I was not thinking about these larger scale issues.
Right.
I'm going, what did the writer's room look like? I really want to know what the writer's room looked like, because at this point I'm sitting there going, I guess I always attributed this to Eve's like classism, like that she felt like she was up in an upper class versus like Chad, who was down in the gutter. And I'm like, the whole point of this is, Eve, you and Chad have very similar upbringings. Like you went through a lot of hardships. Like, and if anyone understood where Chad was coming from, it should be you. And I think that is this thing where she has tried to put her life, like that life up past her, but to hear it and to see this Black mother figure talk to him in those ways, it's so hard to sit there and watch it, especially when we're led to believe that Eve is Chad's mother. It's so difficult to watch her be so mean to him over and over again. So when they get this apology, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's like, it riles up feelings.
It was a necessary apology, and I'm so glad. My favorite part about this was that when Chad tried to let her off the hook, she didn't let him let her off the hook. And I really appreciated that about this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a thing that a lot of minorities do when they encounter like racist issues, where someone does something that is racist towards you or says something that is insensitive, and then when they apologize, a lot of Black people, I can't speak for any other minorities, but I do know that a lot of Black people are like try to make that other person feel better and more comfortable, and then they accept that. They're like, I didn't mean it, my heart, like la la la. But I love that Eve was like, I'm taking full responsibility for this. Like, I refuse to be let off the hook. I fucked up. So I do like that apology. To speak about the writer's room, like, that writer's room, was white and old.
Yeah.
Because the fact that we still 300 and something episodes in still don't know that Pilar and her family are Mexican.
Yeah.
We still don't
Yeah.
know that. They still haven't decided on that.
Yeah.
You know, they still are saying like the old country, you
Yes.
know, and like Latin food. Like they're
Yeah.
not saying giving them a specific ethnicity.
Yeah.
And because these white people just didn't know.
Yeah.
They
They were
haven't
like,
decided.
we'll
What
find out what the
Guatemalan, Mexican, they're all the same.
well, and that was my thing too, because I was like, where is this? New England? I was like, I guess there's Mexicans in New England. I'm sure there are. I just, back then I was like, oh, well, because I guess and again, we put ourselves in what we watch. And so I was always like, oh no, but then eventually they do start putting in a little bit more Mexican themes in there. And so like, yeah, it starts to be a little bit more evident, but yeah, it is, the writer's room. Yes. And I look at it now and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I can't wait to put this in my dissertation, because I was going to be like, yeah, like the first time I saw Latinos in shows, I have a couple examples, and I was going to talk about Passions, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait to talk about the fact that Pilar's the only one at this point that is like a Latina. So yeah. Anyways, with Eve and Chad, I am happy that she finally was able to open her eyes a little bit. Now I'm sure at some point she might regress and go backwards again, because that's just what we do on soap operas. But the holiday feeling, like Sheridan's dying, there's miracles happening, but the fact that they're able to like bury the hatchet, it was really nice. It was like, oh good, give Chad a break for like 5 seconds.
Give Chad a break. This poor baby, this poor child has been shot. She said Chad got shot, but Chad got shot 2 times and thrown into the ocean. Like, he has been almost, you know what? Also, actually, I did want to say this. It took Chad saving Whitney's life 3 times, almost dying 3 times, saving Eve's life, being shot multiple times, being pushed in the ocean, and cluing everybody into the fact that Eve was like, had been kidnapped before Eve was like, I'm going to treat you as an equal.
Yeah.
Girl, we are not equals. I'm much better than you.
Yeah.
Like, clearly, I'm Superman.
I mean, at this point, the only thing Chad has left to do is make sure that he gets Whitney to Wimbledon, because that's all we need to make sure that we love this boy forever.
Right. So Eve gives her apology. It's lovely, honestly. It was necessary and needed. And then she like leaves, basically gives Whitney and Chad her blessing.
But I like this, because she basically gives permission to be friendly, in quotations, with Chad. So I'm like, what Dr. Russell's saying? I don't know what that means. And if I'm a young teenager, I'd have been like, friendly, hey, I'd be so excited.
Right. Well, they did get excited, because Chad said to her, he said,
oh yes, go.
He was like, I know your mom just gave you permission, but I don't want you thinking that we have to be friends or together just because your mom said it was okay. And Whitney was like, well, you know me, I always do what my mother tells me. And then they kissed. It was so like, I really liked that moment.
I wrote in my notes, I put hot, HOTT. Like, that was good.
I always do what my mom tells me. Oh, they make out. Eve sees it, but she doesn't seem to have an issue with it. TC tells her, Whitney knows that her first priority is tennis.
Well, oh my God, here we go.
I haven't seen this bitch on the court. Since episode 100.
Do you know, TC, I will say, I was like, oh, I forgot TC's pretty normal a lot. But I remember my mom and I not liking TC. And it's like, oh, wait, I'm forgetting that there's a lot of like anger issues that I haven't seen in these few episodes that we watched. I had to remind myself, like, why don't I like TC? Like, I remember I was like, why did I like him? I'm like, he's really nice in this. And then I had to remind myself, as soon as he brought up tennis, I was like, oh wait, he's got anger issues. Like,
yeah. Yeah, he has like jacked Chad up a couple of times, and and Julian, and he is like blowing his top, and he's got that weird murder shed that nobody can go in. No, TC's a problem. I mean, he's not as much of a problem as say a Luis, but he is a problem, because Luis is a problem. He's a problematic individual.
Zero to 1,000. Zero to 1,000. Yeah.
So that's where we leave it with Faith. So let's talk about troubled marriages. Here is the summer, and this is super short. All of this is super short, actually.
Yeah.
Rebecca starts up an affair with Julian, With her sights set on becoming the next Mrs. Crane, Ivy finds out about the affair but doesn't seem to care. Rebecca deduces that Sam and Ivy were having an affair after she opens Ivy's locket and finds Sam's picture. But she somehow doesn't deduce that Sam is Ethan's father based on the fact that there's a baby picture of Ethan and an old picture of Sam in this locket. I feel like I would have immediately thought that, but maybe I would. Maybe I'm just thinking that because I'm watching the show and I know about it. But she also, like, at one point overheard Ivy say something to Pilar about Ethan's father. I hope Ethan's father is okay. And Julian was right there in the room. So she was like, that's weird. But we know she's gonna figure it out. It's just weird to me that she hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Right. So, oh Lord. So let's talk about oh, actually I left this out, but we'll just say it. Grace. Let's talk about Grace real quick. So Tabitha reads Grace's tea leaves and tells her that a man will be returning to her life soon, whom she hasn't seen in a very long time, much like Pilar's. And then the little angel girl appears to Grace and gives her zero information.
Yeah, she does a drive-by. Like, she's like, hey girl, stuff's happening. Tabitha wasn't lying. Bye. I'm just like,
no, she comes by. She's like, hey girl, you still need help? Okay, bye. Like, she doesn't do anything. She's just like, a man's coming, but it's not who you think it is. Because when Tabitha says that, Grace says Noah. To her, is like, oh, Noah must be coming home from college. What, shouldn't Noah be here? It's Christmas Eve.
Let me tell you, they got kids scattered all over the planet. All of these people here in Harmony, they got kids all over the place. And so, every time it would be like, whenever they talk about Noah, they talk about Fancy, they talk about Paloma. I'm like, who are these kids? Like, I have to remind. I was like, oh yeah, they haven't showed them yet, and we won't get to them until
for 3 years. Later. Yeah.
But Grace just assumed it was Noah, but we know, having seen it, that it's something else is coming her way.
Something else is coming her way. It is quite interesting. All right, so that's just so you know that that's going on with Grace, but that's all that happened with her.
Yeah.
But it's in troubled marriages because the man who's coming back for her ain't Noah. Okay. All right. So, over at the mansion, Rebecca and Julian are like doing all this silly Christmas stuff. And
they're getting lit. They're like, well, Julian specifically is like pouring down that eggnog and is just like, my sister's dead, but you know what? It's Christmas.
They're like still in their funeral clothes. That's the part I cannot get over. It's Christmas Eve. And these people, they had a funeral on Christmas Eve.
Exactly.
But they didn't say anything about it.
Yeah.
And now they're still in their funeral clothes and decorating for Christmas and drinking eggnog. It is flabbergasting. Yeah. I was flabbergasted. The gumption. So they're like you said, they're getting lit, drinking eggnog, decorating the tree, all of this stuff. Literally, like, Ivy turns her back and Julian starts to like fill Rebecca up, like grabs her ass, squeezes her butt, like all of this stuff. And Rebecca says something about how Ethan will choose Gwen. Like their whole thing right now, they don't give a fuck about Sheridan. They don't care about anything beyond Ethan choosing Gwen. And she said something about how Gwen deserves to be a Crane. And Ivy's like, oh, I recall, and I didn't realize this. This was new information for me, that basically Rebecca, I guess, had her sights set on Julian, but Ivy married him first, which, you know, honestly,
that's some great backstory information.
It really is.
Yeah. And I think it goes into it in Hidden Passions as well. They have a little bit of like, we figure out who Ivy is, who Rebecca is, and that's some good stuff.
Yeah. So Ivy also tells her if Ethan doesn't marry Gwen, it's like all her fault, yada, yada, yada. Who cares? But later, a gift gets delivered for Ethan and Julian just opens it. And this triggered me. This really triggered me because my dad did this to me one year. My dad did this to me one time when I was in college. My permanent address was my grandma's house. And my dad always had like his mail sent over there too. So he would like go through the mail and he was like opening my mail. And one time we had like this big fight because he opened my mail and saw that I had taken out a student loan. He got really pissed about it. And I was like, it's none of your business. Like
Yeah.
I needed to
Yeah.
take out the loan because
Yeah.
I had changed my major and I had to do my fifth year. I had to pay for my fifth year. My first 4 years were paid for, but my fifth year I had to pay for. So I took
Yeah.
out a loan because it's like, are you going to give me thousands of dollars to pay for this last year? You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, this triggered. I said all that to say that triggered me
No,
because my
I
dad
get
opened my
that.
mail and it pissed me off.
Oh, my anything that went to my house, my mom was gonna open. She's like, "Oh yeah, they sent you something. You want me to open it?" I'm like, "You already did." She goes, "Yes." Okay, well, just read to me what it says.
No, look, like my parent, I just never thought my dad would like do that. I didn't.
Yeah.
My mom is not like that at all. Like I mean, she
Yeah.
cares. She cares whatever I get, but she would never open my mail.
Yeah.
My dad, like, it shocked me. I thought we
Yeah.
had built some trust up, man. Why are you
No,
opening my mail?
it was the younger I was, the more she did it. The older I got, it. She was just like, "Hey, you got a letter? Do you want me to open it?" And I was like, "Oh, look, things change." But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I totally no. He just did that because he hates the fact that Alistair has bypassed him and gone straight to Ethan. So for him, he's like, "I get to do this. I get to open this."
Yeah,
And
I
it
think that's a
turns
good
out,
point.
yeah, it turns out that he's basically giving Gwen and Ethan a huge property.
Yeah, a huge mansion for
Yeah.
them and their children. So that's that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, after that happens, like nothing happens with that. It's just interesting
Yeah.
to
It's
know
just like,
because Julian's like, this is just another thing that's gonna make
yeah.
Ethan definitely choose Gwen because he won't get this house if he marries Teresa.
Yeah.
So Pilar comes in and tells everybody. Pilar comes in and tells everybody Sheridan might still be alive. They just went to the cemetery to dig her up. And Julian like drops, he's like decorating the tree and he drops like a glass ornament because he knows that he filled her fucking grave with cement.
Yeah.
And so if there's any chance that Sheridan was alive, she's definitely gonna die now.
Yeah, he helped kill her, basically.
Yeah, but he's in deep, deep denial about it. Like I honestly, I was like, oh, Julian's so shitty. He's gonna just drink and decorate the tree and just go on about his business, even though he knows that he's the one that filled the grave with cement and that he probably kind of helped kill Sheridan.
Yeah.
But he goes into like this denial about it, which even though I was like, he's so horrible, I also kind of understood because like that's a really awful thing to have to live with.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Even if you are Julian. And Julian is horrible, but Julian is not as bad as he makes himself out to be.
Yes, he just kind of felt defeated and accepted his like this is the lot he has in life. And throughout the series, we will get a little bit more of a three-dimensional perspective of Julian as we go out. But you know, with the thing with that's going on here, a couple things. First, anytime I get an Ivy Rebecca fight scene, or anytime I get Ivy and Rebecca together, I tell you, if I ever make a script, if I ever write something that is good, I will make sure to talk to these actresses because I'd love to see them together again. They are so much fun to watch, so much fun to watch them battle it out. And then when Pilar comes in, I was reminded about how much I loved Ivy and Pilar's friendship. But at the same time, a while back, y'all were talking about it. Oh, I see your face. A while back, you were talking about it in the podcast, and I was like, oh, I never looked at it that way. I was like, it's so one-sided and it makes me angry now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I know Ivy loves Pilar, but it's very one-sided and it does piss me off now that I look back on it.
And not only is it very one-sided, Ivy is a fucking snob. Like she said so many things about how Teresa is the housekeeper's, like she said all the same things that Rebecca and Gwen have said. She has said, she said to Ethan that she doesn't want him to marry someone who he will wake up and realize is beneath him. Like she is someone who is not worthy of you. Like she is a problematic white woman.
No, yes.
I love her. She's a queen, but
I agree with all of that because I sit there and I watch her and I'm like, I remember I was like, she has such a love for Pilar, but she has these blinders on with Teresa where she's just like, for years, and I still do this every once in a while. If I ever stub my toe, like if I bang my toe up against a piece of furniture, to this day, I don't cuss. What I say is, ooh, Teresa Lopez Fitzgerald. Ooh. I mean, I say it like the way Ivy would used to. I mean, like at some point, Ivy will just have this sincere hatred towards
A visceral
Teresa.
reaction.
Yeah. And so it's so hard for me because I'm like, Pilar, you love Pilar, but you can't get that. Like she painted this picture of Teresa a long time ago, and that was it. And again, like you said, it's a classist thing. She has a heart. It is there, but you're right. Snob is the perfect word. She was just in that way too long, and she does love her Crane status. I mean, that's the reason she'll never leave Julian.
And if she wasn't a snob, she would have married Sam. She never would have married Julian.
Boom.
Like if she wasn't a snob, she would have just married Sam. I know she had a lot of pressures on her, but so does Ethan.
Yeah.
And look at what he's doing,
And I think that's why I will give her a little bit of that, right? A little bit of that right back is because she does say, I want my son to marry for love, because she knows she did not. And so she at least has that redemption where she's like, if he picks Teresa, I'm not gonna stop her. Whereas the other two, Rebecca and Julian, are like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, she has definitely softened, and I can appreciate it. I really can appreciate it. And I do understand, like, seeing her relationship with Pilar and having like warm feelings about it. I understand it, but it also makes me feel a little sick because in Pilar, at the end of the day, Pilar is an employee.
Yep.
That's what she is.
Yep.
So, anyway, that was what a good talk.
We're trying. We're doing
it. We're not trying, we're doing. But so let's blast through the rest of this.
Yes.
So Rebecca and Julian are talking to each other, flirting with each other, feeling each other up, basically right behind Ivy's back.
Yeah, I like that jingle bells, jingle all the way.
It made my skin crawl. It made my skin crawl when he was like, I don't even know what the point. Like, and that's the thing about Julian is some of this shit is so bizarre that he says. Like, what are you trying? Like, is that supposed to be seductive? What are you trying to do? But he and Rebecca start to kind of get hot and heavy. Rebecca keeps bringing up Ivy's secret and saying, I have this idea, but I don't know. Could you show me y'all's wedding album? When exactly did you get married? Blah, blah, blah. So she goes to his room and she looks through the old wedding album. And this did not make sense to me. She's looking through as a lot of things don't make sense, but she's looking through the album and she's like, I don't know what I thought I would find in here because there's like nothing to find. Yeah. But then like the last page is a picture of Sam peeking out from behind like the floral arrangements at their wedding.
Very, very obviously staged with him like poking his head out.
Who would put that in their wedding album? You know what I mean? It seems like a picture you're like, oh my goodness, that shouldn't be in here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like even Ivy would never, it couldn't have been Ivy because Ivy would never have put that picture in there and then left it in Julian's room.
Yeah.
So it definitely couldn't have been Ivy. If you put tasked a professional with putting together your wedding album, you should fire them if they left that picture in there. You know, like
some random man at your wedding. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever. It just was stupid. So she saw the picture and she's like, and she asked Julian, was Sam Bennett invited to your wedding? And he says, no, he wasn't. Yeah. And so Rebecca's wheels are turning.
Yes.
She's
Julian
on the verge of figuring it out. They have sex a couple of times. Then she goes snooping around the mansion and she goes into Ivy's room, immediately finds Ivy's locket, opens it up, sees the picture of Sam and baby Ethan, but only deduces that Sam and Ivy are having an affair now. That's
how does she not figure out A plus B equals C?
Like, I don't know. But she's getting there. She's getting there faster than anybody else.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. And I love this about Rebecca. Like, I love this as her as a villain is that she has a mission and she's gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
At one point, you know, Julian is figuring out that well, at one point Julian is sitting there and he's like, he thinks Rebecca's back on her way, and he whips out a pair of handcuffs and he bumps into Pilar. Uh, it is so, I mean, and even they put a disco rayado, they make a record scratch noise, and
Yeah.
it's the two of them seeing each other. It is so damn funny. And again, it's like Passions always knows that it's weird and it's absurd, but all I'm like, y'all did not have to put the the record scratch noise in it. It's like you're really milking this, like we give you a little bit of a line and you still got to go further than anything else.
It's pure camp. It's so campy.
Yeah.
I love it. I just love it. It's such a mess. But
Yeah.
let's move on. So she does find the locket, but she puts it back. Pilar and Ivy catch her in her room, in that room, and I don't know, she makes up some excuse like I was coming to help you or some
Yeah.
bullshit. Ivy doesn't buy it, and then
And Pilar
Julian
was
comes
not
in.
buying it either. Yeah.
No, Julian comes in and gets Rebecca out. Also, Ivy lets Rebecca know that she knows that she's sleeping with her husband. Like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
says, I know that you and Julian are sleeping together.
Yeah.
And Rebecca's like, and you like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, honestly, y'all deserve each other.
Yeah.
She's like, there was a time that maybe I would have been upset, but I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
and and again, classist. You know what she says? She says, at least you're not one of the maids.
That's exact. Yep. I'm like,
What does it matter?
Yeah, I would be super pissed if it was somebody I knew. I'd be happier if it was a stranger that I don't ever have. First of all, I would never put up with this. But second of all, a stranger, at least I don't got to deal with them. They don't know nothing about me. They're not in my house. Like you're like, it's okay. I know the person now. Please.
Yeah, no, forget about it. But Ivy doesn't care because she fucking hates Julian. So
Yeah.
so Rebecca leaves with Julian. She tells Julian, one, I think I know what Ivy's secret is, but I'm not gonna tell you yet. Two, well, she's like, come with me. She doesn't say it. She was like, come with me. But she also tells him, Ivy knows about us, but she doesn't seem to care. So I think that sets everybody's kind of wheels in motion. Let's talk about magic.
Yeah. All I do want to say, just between you and me, I love at some point that this sex relationship between Julian and Rebecca, I don't love this. I just think it is something that I do remember is that it gets into bestiality and a donkey continuously appears even in the
Yeah.
finale.
Julian likes weird sex, man. And I'm not here to kink
And
shame
Rebecca's
anybody.
no, I'm not, neither am I. Like I said, this is just between you and me. I'm like, I remember this. I remember the finale and the damn donkey making its donkey squeal. And I'm like, oh yeah, this was a running line with Rebecca having a burro in the bedroom. Like, anyway, I just wanted to tell you that because I digress.
So weird. All
Yes,
right,
magic.
let's talk about this magic. So, the rundown here. Timmy sees that Kay is in cahoots with Hecuba. Kay gets frustrated at not being able to enjoy the holiday festivities because of her lack of a soul. And Charity continues to sense that Kay is in danger. So let's talk about this. I don't want to talk too much about this, honestly. Like, I mean, we've been doing this same. I've been talking about this for so long now, like with Hecuba and Kay's soul, and going back and forth and back. She wants her soul back, and Hecuba's like, "No, you can't have your soul back. We made a deal." And like, oh my god,
this is obviously a huge storyline that lasts a long while.
yeah,
But one of the things that I did write down, I was like, can we just like, okay, Kay made her decision to sell her soul to Hecuba, but at the same point, she's like, "Can I just get my soul back?" I'm like, how many times is she gonna say this?
yes.
No, you're not. You don't get it back.
Actually, that was my favorite line from this episode of these episodes. Was when Kay yells at Hecuba, "I just want my soul back." She's like,
Yeah.
"Girl,
Like,
we know you
no,
want your
this
soul
is not
back.
how this works.
That's not how it works when you sell your soul, my love.
I
Like,
gotta,
do you have a receipt?"
yeah. I gotta tell you, when Charity's in there and she's holding Timmy, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Timmy has such a huge crush on Charity. I was like, maybe he and I had the same taste at one point. But when Charity leaves, and the first thing Hecuba does is like, wait, we gotta throw out the trash or something like that. That's the clip you gotta use in your TikTok because it is so hysterical. I love it. She picks him up, and I'm like, how does Kay not hear what Hecuba says? She grabs him and says, say hello to Tabitha for me, chucks him out the window.
I know.
It is so funny. And he's so damn cute because of his little yell. Meanwhile, Tabitha's hair, the amount of hair that she has, softens the blow as Timmy comes crashing down on him. And the noise, the sound effect, and her just throwing herself, it is so damn funny.
It is.
I recorded it on my phone and I sent it to a couple friends, and I was just like, look at this. Do y'all remember this? And they're like, holy crap, yes. And then they're playing my musical suite, that little oh, something quirky,
Tabitha's music
happening. Yes.
Yeah. I'm interested with Kay about her relationship with Tabitha right now because witches exist.
Yes.
And you saw it's like she has decided to absolve Tabitha of all the shit that happened and just be like, oh, Tabitha's just the crazy old lady next door, and just completely forget that Tabitha is a full-blown witch. And that Timmy is a talking living doll.
Yes.
It's just interesting to me that they've decided to kind of gloss over that Kay has that understanding and knows that, because it seems like if you want to get your soul back from Hecuba, you would go talk to Tabitha.
Exactly. Well, and it's interesting because at some point Kay and Tabitha will have a different relationship, but that's very, very far away. But it is interesting to me that I'm like, did she not hear Hecuba? Like, why would Hecuba grab the doll and throw it? Like, if this witch is that powerful, like, why does she care about this doll that she doesn't like? She knows that's Tabitha's doll. Like, it's one of those soap opera rules where we just go meh and we move on.
Whatever. So we just need to talk about a couple of new pieces of information that we learned. One is that Hecuba cannot be in the same room as Charity. So Charity comes knocking on the door while Kay is talking to Hecuba. She can't hear Hecuba at all, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Why can Timmy see and hear Hecuba?
I'm gonna say maybe it's magic on magic, like he's magic, because at some point he says something disparaging about Hecuba while she's outside the window, and she hears Timmy thinking. I'm like, Hecuba's fucking powerful because he can't talk, and she heard him. And she's like, I hate Tabitha just as much as I did 300 years ago. And Timmy's like, oh no. I mean, like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand. I'll never understand the magic in the show, but I sure as hell have fun trying to figure it out.
Like, because also if Tabitha, we have been led to believe that Tabitha owes 300 years worth of back taxes on her house, but because every year she was like zapping the tax rolls, their words, not mine. She was zapping the tax rolls, but now that she doesn't have power, all of a sudden, all of that information is back available. So why is Timmy still alive? Wouldn't he lose his enchantment? You know what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not important. It's not important at all. You know what is important is that Charity can't hear Hecuba. She hears Kay on the other side of the door talking. She's like, why is Kay talking to herself? And so she walks in with Timmy. She's walking around with Timmy because Timmy's like been snooping around upstairs and she sees the doll. So that's why she has Timmy. But she barges in and tells Kay, I can tell that something's wrong with you. I fear for you. I think you're in danger, and Kay tells her, everything's fine. She thinks about telling her, and Miguel shows up at one point. I don't care about these kids. Miguel shows up at one point, and she thinks about telling them, but Hecuba's like, don't you dare, because Kay starts to think, well, if Hecuba can't be in the same room as Charity, then Charity must have enormous powers, and maybe she can help me get my soul back.
Which is smart thinking.
Yeah, but Hecuba gets in her head and is like, that she is not going to be able to help you. So don't even
you sold your soul to me. I have the receipt, so you're screwed.
Yeah, so everybody's worried about her not having any Christmas spirit. Whatever. They say it so many times.
Yeah.
But anyway, like you said, they leave. Hecuba comes back, throws Timmy out the window, tells Kay, you can never get your soul back. And then she does. What did she do to her? Oh, she told her she couldn't go to mass. She was because Kay
Yes.
was like, I'm gonna go to mass with my family. And she says, like, you can't go to church anymore because the
Yeah.
angels, the heavenly hosts won't let you in.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
she Kay decides to test this theory, and she goes to church and tries to get in, and a force field appears.
Yeah, like, and I remember at some point something else, like these like statues come alive. I can't remember what episode it is, but something happens where basically they can't go in. It's the same thing. Tabitha can't get in there either. Hecuba wouldn't be able to get in there. Like they can never go inside the church.
It's
Um,
it's odd
yeah,
to me though, because why can't it doesn't make sense that Kay can't go in. It makes sense that Tabitha and Hecuba can't because they're evil, right? They're pure
yeah,
evil. But like Kay is like just doesn't have a soul. Like, why is
yeah.
that stopping her from going? I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I've never seen that in the Bible, but maybe I missed a page or three. But
I
because
don't.
yeah, it's very specific. I just love at some point Tabitha and Timmy do go home. And they're finally getting to chill out a little bit after all of this stuff. And it makes me laugh because first of all, Timmy is like, Hecuba's up there. Hecuba's the evil source. And
Right.
Tabitha's like, you're joking. You're lying. That can't possibly be true. I'm like, all you've been talking about is how much sulfur you smell. Like you
Right.
can't like and he's your number one person. Why would he lie to you? Your eyes are deceiving you. Blah blah blah. Because if it were Hecuba, and again, I always am fascinated at the R's that Juliet Mills will put on the word Hecuba, like
Yeah.
Hecuba.
Hecubar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so fascinating to me. But she does not believe Timmy, and it becomes a thing. But I will say it's so sweet when the two of them get non-Christmas presents for each other.
End of
Uh
the year presents is what they call it.
yes, it was so sweet. He gets brand new gloves and she gets some more bracelets. And they're having some martinis on a with a roasting fire. It was so cute. And I
I
just
do love
reminded
them.
myself how wholesome and how fun they are together.
And their relationship is just so lovely. It really
Yeah.
is. I mean, when she's not trying to kill him, it was
Yeah.
really dark at the beginning. She was like putting him in
Yes.
every appliance possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they softened her up a lot, thank God, because
Yes.
that was really
Well, and
psychotic.
I think they saw the bread and butter was like this relationship is pretty damn funny and campy. So they were like,
Yeah,
all right, let's soften her up a bit. Yeah, you're right.
yeah. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. We've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
But Eric, you're gonna join me on the post show today, yes?
Yes, please.
All right. So, everybody, Eric, tell everybody where they can find you if you want to give them your ats.
Yeah, on almost everything, I am at Mr. Eric Vera, EricVera.
All right. And I'll put that in the description so you can go follow him on Twitter, where he is giving out all kinds of tweets,
Oh, it's
tweeting
it's
about
always
nostalgia things.
heck yeah, it's always about the Golden Girls or pop culture or whatever reality TV I'm watching. Couple letterbox reviews. It's fun.
Thrilling. All right, gotta give a good big shout out to all our patrons. I forgot to do it in the middle of the show again. I'm so sorry. But thank you to Munashe, Marcus, Erica, Breland, Lisa, Zach, Sid, Sarana, Dustin, Heather, Randall, Ashley, Hannah, Camelia, Monique, Samantha, Amy, Chucky, and Jeanette. Thank you all so much for being patrons. Remember, you can always catch us on social media. You know where it's at. We've been at this for 100 episodes, so you should know by now. At Passions Podcast, most places. All right. So remember, you are my passion for
For
life.
life.